Whenever
Right.
I'm coaching someone and they tell me they're like, I want to have this photography business, but I don't want to have it to make money. And I was like, I hear you. It's either you do want to make money because you do have to feed your friends and family, or you're doing this as a hobby. Decide what it is, and then we can go from there. Because if you have one foot out the door, not to mention how powerful your tongue is, if you are sitting there and saying, I want to have this photography business, but I don't necessarily want to make money from it, that is exactly what is going to happen. You're going to have this photography business that you don't make money from because that's what you're asking for over and over again.
Hello and welcome to the Studio Takeover podcast. My name is Kat Ford Coates. I am here today with Hadonica Murphy. Hadonica owns Hadonica's Photography with two locations, one in Mississippi and one in Western Tennessee in Memphis. And Hadonica and I go pretty far back. We both have come up through the portrait system to build our businesses and have since evolved into multiple locations and our own coaching tracks and businesses. And Hadonica has recently let me in on a not so much a secret, but she's investing in property, in multiple properties. And if it weren't for being set up in business and really getting to that place of sustainability, could she get not only out from under a corporate career in medicine, but also invest in the future she wanted to build? So, Hadonica, I'm so excited you were here. And girl, oh,
Kat, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I've been waiting for it and I feel so excited. And I can't wait to see what all we talk about and just what we share with our viewers that are listening today.
we don't get a chance to really talk all that often, but whenever we do, it's always very real, very open, and just like there are no rules.
No, I feel like you're so easy to flow with and just talk to that it just makes sense. And then whenever we just reconnect, it's just like, hey, this is everything that has been happening over however long period it's been.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and we have, traveled to other countries and been a part of programs like in Italy. And, you know, I, I think looking from the outside, it might look like, we're all living these charmed lives. And to some extent, we get to know. But at the same time, like it wasn't always that way. And if it weren't for the work that we did and putting our businesses into place in profitable ways with really high touch customer service, none of that would be possible. I really like to bring that to the table when we're talking to an audience who either is considering a photography business or has one, that it can open more doors for you, like being able to invest in things and go on really fun, exciting adventures and make art with people and for people. And so I'm super glad that you are here to help me sort of dig through that story.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it as well. Just listening to what you're saying, because when I think about it, without my business, I would never have been able to do a month-long tour in Italy or go to Greece or Athens or any of that while I was a nurse practitioner, because time would just not allow it. But with me having my own business, I can take off as long as I want to, and I get to say how much money I get to make to go on this trip if I want to, or what I'm using it for. And just thinking about it, without photography, that would not have been possible because there's no corporate job that's just going to say, hey, here's a month off, go have fun.
Yeah, deuces. We'll see you later.
No, they're like PTO rejected.
They're like, I'm sorry, did you say out of the country? Nay, nay, Fluffy. Uh, it's funny. A friend of mine, he was checking in about his PTO. He has a corporate job and he's a writer. He was checking in on his PTO because he wasn't sure if it was like, does it go to 4 weeks this year, 3 weeks? Like, what is it? And they were like, you have another 6 months and 14 days until you get to 3 weeks. And he was just like, I've been here for 8 years. What?
Oh,
And I was like, God, thank God I don't have to do that.
I know. I used to hate because I've always loved traveling. And when I worked at the hospital, that was one of the issues is I would get my paycheck and I'm like, oh my God, I want to go to the Bahamas, but I have to do it on the hospital terms. If you request 7 days, they reject it, or they want you to find someone else to cover for you. I no longer have to stress about staffing a hospital. I can just go on my vacation, turn my phone off, and not have to stress or worry about anything. And it's like, I feel like I'm so happy for it because it comes from me. I am allowing myself because of what I've done in our business. Like, that's the part that is always just so mind blowing and just feels like wow to me.
Now, I am curious, I've done a lot of traveling with the studio, like whether it's for destination clients or, mentoring and supporting Sue Bryce, or teaching my own workshops. But I remember the first time I went abroad, and it was actually to take a workshop with Sue in Paris. And I remember hustling my ass off to get there. Like, because this was back in the day of like, I had been studying with Sue maybe for a year at that point. And so, like, I was charging a sustainable rate, but I knew that being gone for 2 weeks, I really had to like stack on front and stack on the back to
Mm-hmm.
fill the gap for the loss of revenue. And I still didn't quite hit my mark. So when I got back, I was really busy, but then it all fell out like the next month. And I was like, okay, so keep the advertising going. You spend the money on the ads so that all of the marketing stays in place and la, la, la. But it cost me, God, probably 5 weeks in revenue because after I got back, I think I had like 8 more shoots and then I had nothing. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like deadlifting and starting networking and everything all over again.
Oh
Was
my
there ever
gosh.
a point? Yeah, like it was, but was there ever a point where like you were looking at the structure and flow of your business for your traveling and like freaking out or panicking on how to structure things? Or did you come back from an adventure and like, oh crap, I spent way more money than I thought I did and I was not ready for this?
So I will say my first go around that happened when we first did that first workshop in Italy. And that was my fault because I decided that I was just not going to market anything. So now I'm able to, since I have an assistant, plan while I'm gone. She's marketing for me, and we've already had our 3 or 4 weeks that I'm gone planned out. And she knows everything to do while I'm gone. So she can keep booking clients for me while I'm out of the country, and she knows the days. So I can actually have that peace of mind of, okay, when I come back, I will have my clients already booked in and I'll be ready and she'll keep me updated. I think that was one of the biggest helper was to continue marketing and sharing your client's testimonial while you're out of the country, but just
Mm-hmm.
take that time to be yourself, just be with yourself. And then that first time, yeah, the first time we went to Italy, I came back and I was like, oh God, that was a $10,000 trip. Because, of course, I brought my husband because there was no way I was going to
Oh,
go to
yeah.
Italy without him. There's no way. And I mean, I bought my first Louis Vuitton purse because I had money for myself. I celebrated my 30th birthday in Italy. There was no way that I wasn't going to splurge. But when I came back that first year, I was like, and it was me. It was a scarcity mindset. I was like, oh my God, I
Uh-huh.
just spent like $2,500 on a purse. I'd never done anything like that in my entire life because I normally get like Walmart or stuff like that, you know? And this was that
Sure.
30th, turning 30 and going to Italy for the first time was just like, okay, you're breaking into being a woman now. Or like you're grown up. And it felt
Time to
really
be grown
great. But I
up.
did
Yeah.
spend excess money, but then I made it right back.
Mm-hmm.
Like I no longer had to stress. I made it right back when I got back home.
Like, and knowing like now you have somebody you can count on to help like keep that system in motion so you
Mm-hmm.
aren't like dancing on a mountain with a glass of wine and going, oh wait, I have to get back to that DM real fast, hang on. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And that's yeah,
uh
that first year I did have to do that. I was like, okay, I just want to text this client and then the time zone difference. So this second time I was like, we're taking a month, my VA is handling everything. We're just gonna bounce around, drink wine, and not stress about anything. Put the phone on, do not disturb. And
yes.
yeah, if it wasn't for the systems we have in place, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't have the funds set aside for if I get back and it is slower to have all our bills paid. That is one of the beauty
Mhm.
of photography. We can make as much or as little as we want to.
I remember coming into the space and coaches or mentors or whatever, people would ask, how often do you want to work? Right. And when we're a little farther down in the track, we might be like, I only want to work once a month, twice a month, like actively shooting, whatever. But back then it was bring it on. Like,
Right.
I
You're
want
like,
to
I'll work
photograph
20
15
days
people a
out of the
month.
month.
Give me
Yeah.
all of them. Right. Then once you start implementing the processes and realizing like my shoot is 5 hours long with hair and makeup and look, not to mention a sales session and all of the
Mm-hmm.
things, you're like, whoa, Nelly, okay, how do I efficientize this? Because then your mind clicks into from like that scarcity. Oh my God, we're all going to die. I need to make money. Give me all the work. Give me all the work, which was always the way in my restaurant career, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was bring it on. Like, I want to work doubles every day. I better be on the weekends, like,
That's
la,
how
la,
it was
la.
with nursing. That is exactly how it is with nursing.
Yeah. And so I came into running a business that way. Like, yeah, I'll take it all. And it wasn't until I started shifting and going, well, how can I make more money doing this? Because at the time, I think had probably grown to like 6 or 7 thousand a month, and was like, there's way more money here. There has to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing something. What was that shift like for you? Like when you were going from, oh my God, I'll take all the work, to wait a minute, there's more money here. I know there is.
So, coming from nursing, I was just like, it was different because my mindset was, okay, I got paid well as a nurse. I'm not going to lie. I got
Mm-hmm.
paid well as a nurse, but it took so much of my time that there was never any Hadonica time. So when I started doing photography and nursing, I was working like 7 days a week, maybe like 1 or 2 days off, work another seven because the hospital always needed help and they knew that they could always call me and kind of be like, hey, no one is here to take care of the patients. What are they going to do? So in photography, when I was like, oh, I could work 20 days, okay, that feels like time off. But as you did it, and like you said, it's a lot more in depth. You're always on for your patients. I'm not your patients. You're on for your clients.
Right.
You are giving them a lot of your energy. You're being there for them. You're cheering them on. You're supporting them. I started to realize that I needed to work less and make more. And then I just decided to raise my prices to the minimum of $2,500 just to get on my calendar because I felt like, okay, that's what I need to make to pick up my camera without feeling resentful. I never in my entire life thought I would ever say anything like that out loud because when I first started,
Yeah.
I only charged $25. So for me to say I won't pick up my camera for 25 for less than 2,500, now I'm just like, oh, holy crap, things have really changed. It's that value.
100x that bitch. Yes.
Yes, because it's that you start and I think maybe it's as I get older, and or maybe it's because I work so much. I've been working since I was 16 all the way up until, I mean, still now, but nothing like how I used to work before at the hospital. I'm finally able to slow down and I'm realizing, yes, I want to work, but I want to spend time with my family. I want to garden. I want to spend time with my husband. I want to travel more with him. And that means that it's only way I can do this if I make more money while not being hands on and having to be there all the time. So making money while you're not there is just, it's phenomenal.
Crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just got to raise those prices and make more and know that you deliver the work.
Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking to a mentee inquiry yesterday, and it's a photographer and she's, in that like $400 to $700 space, and she's like pretty busy at a good clip. But I was talking to her about pricing, and we go way back. Like, I've known her now for 5 or 6 years. She's local, and she's like, my husband would never pay that, and I was like, well, it's a good thing he's married to you. He gets that
Yeah. Your husband's not
on
your
his own. I was
client.
like, and next time he says that, why don't you ask him how much your engagement ring was? Like,
Yeah.
like, that's okay. And
No. And the thing
you can
is,
set
yeah.
a boundary of a price, whether that's $100 or $100,000. It's just a boundary, and you can decide how you want to hold it. Right. But for you to realize like the time with my husband and traveling and doing what I want is more valuable to me than the money that I could generate in the studio working as a technician.
And that's why we just started investing in the real estate property because we realized that you have to have an exit plan with photography. None of us can do this for the rest of our lives. Our back just won't allow it, or the shoulder that holds the heavy camera. So it was like, what's our exit plan where we can start getting paid more utilizing the money that I am able to bring in a ton of money from photography, but where am I spending it? Is it going into liabilities or assets, some things that's gonna pay me to work less? And now that we're getting there, I'm just like a light bulbs just went off. I'm like, okay, I only have to do this for maybe the next 7, or maybe if I push it out 10 years and we'll be set. We can just retire. And because of photography, now I can invest in investment property, and those investment property can pay me to lay on the couch and make money. Like it just finally just switched. It was a click. I'm like, but I do deserve rest and money. I don't have to work super hard to make money anymore. I don't have to hustle and just grind. It's a luxury experience. It's not food, water, or healthcare.
Did you study investment at all, or is it just
No,
something you kind
girl.
of
No, same way I
like
learned
Googled?
photography. I was so freaking scared. And I was like, I don't want to put a lot of money into it. So we had 11, well, we had money set aside already that it just like play money because my husband likes to do investments. So I was like, you can either put this $12,000 or $11,000 into the stocks, or I can play with it and find like a very first investment property. He's like, you play with it. So I like look and I found this house that was $65,000. Like the I'm in Mississippi, by the way. So think about that.
Okay.
Mississippi, in Cleveland, Mississippi. So it's smaller. And I was like, am I going to be able to do this? And I just took a leap of faith and I was like, it's 11 grand. I can make it back. That was a down payment they require. I can make that back from like 2 or so sessions, because now that's how I think about it. How many sessions do I need to put a down payment on the house? And that's it. And we went through, got it. And at first I was nervous because I was like, what if I can't find any renters? I posted on Facebook and like a flood of people are like, we need places to live. It was like vultures. And
Yeah.
but it's money that I'm not even having to think about.
Right.
And I hadn't ran into any like major issues, but no, I didn't. I jumped on YouTube, listened to Bigger Pockets. I did read the book House Fire, which is about retiring early, because that's one of my goals. I don't want to spend the rest of my life working
Well, at the rate
unless
you're
it's for
going, you're
fun.
already retiring before 50. So, like, I'm over here like
Yes,
watching Hadonica. Like,
and I'm
and
gonna
it's
return my
funny.
husband. Well, I've learned this from you guys. Like, you don't you remember when I came in and I was like, I'm $25 and I make
Uh-huh.
$25 as a nurse. Like, can I do this? And now I'm over here like, yeah, like you can literally. And I think my background of where I came from, being an immigrant and coming from nothing, I'm just always happy whenever I see that. And I know like $65,000 house, it feels like a unicorn, but sometimes you go out there and you put elbow grease into it. Maybe you need to paint.
Sure.
Luckily, this house was move-in ready. It had a huge backyard. It was just like my first step to get my feet wet. Now our third house cost us 220, but I would have never started at 220 because I was scared the first time.
Well, and I don't know that that goes away. Like, you had shared something about like purchasing your fourth place, your fourth property. And I was like, hell yeah, Hadonica. Because I remembered going back and you coming in and being like, like, can I do this? Can I do this? And then graduating into like a mentoring role. And like, now we're investing. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. And this piece of property just sort of showed up out of nowhere. And we put a cash offer in on it,
Yeah.
like in a completely different state. But it was the first time, because I did pick up a lot of debt in 22 and 23. Like, I put
Mhm.
myself back in debt, like just trying to scale and move things around.
You
But,
know what, Kat? I
like,
love that you're always just so freaking truthful. Like you're like, yeah, I did pick up some debt. Like
yeah.
it's the truth. Business, you're gonna have to invest. You're gonna have to spend money.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not gonna fall out of the sky.
God, no. But when it does, I'm here for it. Right. Like,
Yes, I'm
but it's
open.
well, because a lot of my story too is like in 2018, paid off like $72,000 in debt. That's why I didn't
Mhm.
go to the first like TPM. Like, it was just buckle down,
You
hustle,
were
grind,
freaking
blah, blah,
focused.
blah.
Yeah, you were focused.
Yeah. And I was really proud of that. So when I started picking up debt as we went into scaling, for takeover as well as the retail side, like, I'd been really back in that scarcity place of like, I can't spend money. I can't spend money. I have to make sure I'm making and da 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 da. Well, and then my bank account showed that mindset showing the hell up.
And
But then I recognized it and I was like, oh, nay, Fluffy, we're not going to do that. And, came back into that like creative exploration space. And creative exploration is always where I make the most money from an abundant space.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you can make a lot of money in the cookie cutter space. Like do
Yeah,
it.
I need the creative part, like you said, that like when I'm in flow and creating and not thinking about money, that's when my biggest sales come in. I wasn't thinking about the sale, it just happened. I just knew that it was going to happen. So going back into that abundance mindset instead of scarcity, it happens to me, and now that we can recognize it, you can get back
Yeah.
out of it quickly.
If you're trying to manifest a baby and you're not having any luck like having kids and you start seeing pregnant women everywhere, that's driftwood. That's the universe being like, it's coming,
Mm-hmm.
it's on the way, instead
Mm-hmm.
of looking at it and going, why is everybody pregnant but me?
Yes. Yes.
And like that driftwood, I have to come back to that in my morning practice and like, okay, Kat, where did you see some driftwood today? Like when something feels like it's not catching or it's not working, there's either a part of me that believes I can't have it, or I'm being shown that I can and I'm ignoring it. So
Mm-hmm.
what am I ignoring? What's around me?
When I remove myself from the equation and stop focusing on I need to make $3,000 or $5,000 from this sale, and I just want to make this client happy and create the most beautiful portraits of them, the sales will just flow and come on in.
But that's from the system. That's the byproduct of how you've structured things. When we're in the space of four or five, $700, and we're delivering 10 to 20 digitals at a time, and people are still complaining, you're like, how do people make money doing this? And it's
Yeah.
because they need that process. They need the permission, right? To even be able to charge professional rates. If you're listening right now, you have my permission. It's like sometimes we need that permission. Like I needed that permission just to be able to make a cash offer on a property. Like I'm 47 years old and was like, I never thought that would be an option for me. It never even crossed my mind that
Wow.
that was a possibility until like a month ago.
Wow.
Like,
Wow. I love that. Like, oh my gosh.
oh, Kat, you have savings.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that's for.
Well, it's just a lot we didn't learn about. Like the other day, I was talking with this lady that she does insurance, but she was insuring our rental property, and she's a little super cute old lady, and she's like, "Yeah, I have like 20 of those," and I was like, "Okay, tell me more." I like to always learn from people who've done it, and she's like,
Oh
"Did you
yeah.
know that you can use your Roth account to buy rental properties?" So now that's something that we are looking into, and it sets it up where you get a bigger tax break, but it's never going to like take money out of your actual Roth where you're like, oh my God, I'm retiring and there's no money in there. It's like your
Mm-hmm.
Roth is owning the property for you, and
Right.
all of
Whole
that is
term
yours.
insurance works that way too.
Yes, but I'm like like growing up, I was never taught any of this stuff. So it's just like mind blowing. I'm like, you can do what with your Roth? Because I've just been dumping money into it. I'm like, one day we're gonna get this money back out. But I didn't know that money could be working for me right now as I'm putting money into it. It's just so much that
If
I'm
you've got
learning.
whole term life insurance too, like if you look at banks invest their money, and this was
Mm-hmm.
something that like an insurance guy was showing me, and I was like, all right, well, because you're an insurance guy, I gotta go figure this out from somewhere else. Like because
Yes.
but banks actually will invest in whole term policies so that they can then leverage the whole term policies into real estate, like commercial real estate,
Mm-hmm.
especially. And for also, again, for anybody listening, this is not financial
Yeah, this
advice
is
from Kat
not.
and
We
Hadonica. This
look,
is just what we've
look,
learned.
all our
Um,
shit that we do YouTube is YouTube and just talking to each other and figuring out and trying it and
yeah.
see what actually works for us. I will tell you, Kat, kind of weird, but I think I came to the conclusion that every guru had to have that moment where they had to go through that phase of figuring it out like we are. And that's how
Oh,
they
yeah.
got to where they are. Like, isn't that
Sure.
amazing?
Because the experience, right? Like you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And if you don't give yourself the opportunity to lay a strong foundation to stand on, the only thing you're ever going to be doing is shoring up that foundation in the cracks you haven't fixed yet.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being able to stand on a strong foundation and go, what opportunity is available to me now? Sue Bryce, she says, what is it? Same view, different altitude. It's not that the
Mm-hmm.
mountain changes. You don't just hop from mountain to mountain, right? You just get up to another level and you can see farther, which means you can see more opportunity and more potential for yourself. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
unfolding looks like. So when you have a business instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something catches, like condense time and space, invest in the systems and the philosophies from coaches, whether that's me or not, right? Like that can
Yeah.
help you shorten that gap of time so that you can move faster, make more money. Like I can't tell you how many people I speak to that are like, well, it's not really about the money. I just want it to be worthwhile. I'm like that means it's about the money.
It is about them. I know whenever
Right.
I'm coaching someone and they tell me they're like, I want to have this photography business, but I don't want to have it to make money. And I was like, I hear you. It's either you do want to make money because you do have to feed your friends and family, or you're doing this as a hobby. Decide what it is, and then we can go from there. Because if you have one foot out the door, not to mention how powerful your tongue is, if you are sitting there and saying, I want to have this photography business, but I don't necessarily want to make money from it. That is exactly what is going to happen. You're going to have this photography business that you don't make money from because that's what you're asking for over and over again.
All
Just
over and over.
own it and say, I want to give people an amazing experience. And from that experience, they pay me well to live the life I want to live. And it's like once I
Yep.
adopted that, and I was like, I want to be paid well, so I can buy a house by a beach one day and learn to surf. That's what we're working on.
If you're driving along and you're listening to this podcast, I want you to just like give me an amen, like in the car right now, because I mean that's just it. It's we want that like toxic humility of well, it's not really about the money, it's about the art. But then you get into the business of it. You've made a choice to create a business, and a business requires revenue. A business requires money in order to not only thrive but survive. The same way that your body needs oxygen, food, like in order to live. And if you want to
100%.
take the stance of, well, it's not about the money and I don't care about the money, that's your own bullshit talking. Like you were talking about traveling, right? And for your 30th birthday, the first time after always like buying purses from like Walmart and Target, like you invested in a Louis Vuitton purse. And it was like that had to be really exciting and also really like, oh my God, I just spent this much on a purse, right?
Yeah. At first, I was like, I wasn't going to do it. And my friend looked at me and she said, you're turning 30. You deserve it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I do deserve this. I worked so hard and I went in there and I had the best customer service. And I realized this is the kind of experience we give our clients. We make them feel so happy. And right now, my husband, like when I showed him the purse, he was happy. He was like, I'm so glad that you did this for yourself. And he knows I don't normally carry like a really expensive purse. And he's like, you did this for yourself. When he looked at me and he said, you know what it is that you want now. And that makes him happy that I know exactly what I want. And that's what this whole process is you're doing your business. You will learn exactly what it is that you want, how you want to be treated from other people, and what your boundaries are and what they're not, because you
Oh, I
people will
love that.
continue to take if you allow them. So you will become stronger as you build this business. You will learn to say no. You will learn to say your prices. You'll say them proudly. You're like, of course it takes $2,500 to work with me. Do you see the kind of artwork I create? You're worth it. Because if you're out there doing 20 shoots, that means when you get home, you're doing 20 shoots that you need to sit down and edit. So it's not just the time out there with your camera, it's all the things on the back end. Now you're giving up sleep. You only have so many hours in the day. You need at least 6 to 8 hours. Really, we really need the 8 hours that we our cells can restore, but that's a talk for another day. But like thinking about it, 20 shoots, you go home, each of those edits, they're about 2 to 3 hours. Then you have to upload them, correspond with the clients. Then, if they don't like something because it was a cheaper session, you're upset that you have to go back in and spend 2 more hours re editing everything and removing every stray hair that affects you're on a constantly high stress level and all your hormones are out of whack and you're not living. You're like just existing, and then you
You're
crash and
existing.
you're existing and you crash for 5 days, and now you might have 5 days that you can be a decent human being with your family, but then you restart it all over again. You're like, I've got 20 more shoots to go. And it's just a vicious cycle. You have to
Yeah.
decide, I'm going to work less, make more money, but also make sure I set time for myself to sit down, to be in nature, to walk, to breathe, read a book that you love. And I'm not talking about a self-help book on how to make more money. I'm talking about whether it's you like reading the spicy stuff or you're into dragons or whatever your thing is, like get back to that. Don't get just boggled down on how much people can I take in all at once to make as much money, because then you're going to wake up and look back and you're going to be sad. And I don't want that for you. I want you to start making your, be similar to me and wake up at a younger age and learn from all of these amazing people out here. Because I watched you guys and I was like, these women are so amazing. They're making so much money and they're in their power and setting their schedule and going to Italy. I want to do that. And I did do it.
And then you
And like,
did
if
it.
you're, yeah. And if you're out there and you feel the same way, you're like, I see them traveling. I see them going to Greece. I want to do the same thing. Step up and do it. A thing that I noticed when I'm coaching is I'll have clients who will say, I want to make $100,000 this year, but I'm only going to keep my prices at $300. And I'm like, so you think you're going to do 5,000 shoots this year, or you're going to do like 340 shoots? Like, how are you going to have the time to do anything else? That's all your days in the whole year. But pricing yourself accordingly to where you can get to that. Like, I won't take more than 6 to 8 clients a month because that's what works for me. And the rest of the time, I am working on things in the system on the back end, but still spending time with my family and my dog. And I'm learning to skate now.
Well, and for me, it's like when you first come into the luxury system of portrait, it can be really easy for those shoots to run super long while you're understanding the posing and the workflows and all of the things. I can teach you how to do like 8 to 10 in a day, right? But it's a matter of what pace works well for you. So if you're in a position and you're like, you know what, I only want to work for 4 hours when I shoot total. I want to take one client and then I want to leave and go get lunch with a friend and go shopping and go home and take a nap, whatever. Go to the kids' soccer game. Doesn't matter. But because your system is in place, which means you follow the rules with pricing and you just learn to value your work from the space of, oh, it was never really about the photos, was it? It was about the experience and the art and the transformation that happens for them, and then how they take that confidence out into the world and model it for others and start the business and ask for the raise and show their daughters that they can be in their power too. Oh, that's what they're paying for, right? Like you get to set the terms, and that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. The problem with it is sort of the same thing though. You're responsible for it. So if it's not feeding you, if it's not paying you, if it's not giving you the love of your craft, then you either have to address it and fix it or do something else. And that might mean change your prices.
I think the answer is always change your prices. I feel like that's always the answer. I'm like, never go down on it, but I just feel like that's a huge aspect of it, because yes, you can photograph 20 people at $200 and make that, but make 4,000 or more than that. But then I can photograph one person and make $4,000 in that one day, go home and have an amazing time. And they rave about me on Facebook. They're like, I had the best time. And, they're not stressed. I'm going to say remove yourself from the situation. Because if you were poor like me and $4,000 feels like a lot to you. So in your head, you're like, you think, oh my God, my client just spent $4,000 for me. They expect the moon back and a left kidney from me. No, they're appreciative of what you just did for them. They're appreciative that you took the time to sit there, to listen to them talk about what they like to draw at home or how they like to dance or how they've been rediscovering themselves. You are just a safe space, and you're being paid well to be a safe space and capture the beautiful person in front of you. And I think realizing that we deserve to be paid well for what we're doing. We're not just doing, if you want just ink and paper, there's Walgreens, you can buy the printer yourself and do it your own at home. It's more than print and ink. It's a legacy that we create. Like, they go out there, their daughters are seeing that. Your daughter is seeing you take time for yourself. I never saw my mom take time for herself. My mom lived a life that was unlived and passed at 36, which is another reason I'm probably like, I'm just going to live the best life because I deserve it. But watching her not live and taking care of me, my sister, my stepdad, everyone else but not her. I've been convinced that because she was not living, that's why she wilted and died, because she cared for everyone else. And I don't want that for anyone else that is listening. I don't want you to take care of every other soul in your family, that you don't even take your medicine, you don't eat any grains, you don't take time to walk, you just work, 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 work.
Oof.
Oh, I know. I said that took a turn. Like, we got
Yeah.
deep.
Wait. Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah.
Well, you know what
And
though? On that note, I think I'm gonna wrap it at that,
yeah.
because I think for anybody listening, that's a beautiful opportunity for you to just turn off Spotify for a second and just reflect on how you are caring for yourself. Because if you're caring for everybody else around you instead of yourself or despite yourself, um, there's a problem. And you're the only person that can determine how to fix that problem. But I hope it involves a glass of hydrogen water and some spinach and maybe some yoga and some sunshine. Um, and if we can support you in that journey of self discovery and learning more about how you can write that for your life, let us know. Hadonica, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate
Thank
you
you
to
so
the
much for
moon.
having me, Kat. And I just wanted to say to whoever is listening that you guys have the power to create the life that you want.
Fantastic. Have a great day, guys.